Cool. Welcome, listeners. Today we've got none other than Mr. Shaun Witherden of Kaseya Datto fame. Great to have you on, Mr.
Excited
Witherden.
to be on, Mr. Greg Sharp. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me on for my first ever podcast. I feel very excited and great to have it done by you. Pop My Cherry by Mr. Greg Sharp.
Is it your first podcast for someone that is just so remarkably well known? No one's invited you yet. Are you ginger underneath that hat? What's going
on? No friends on my side of the world, mate.
No. Well, today's chat's pretty free form, like no particular agenda, but we thought we'd just sort of talk about the state of the market. There's a little bit of a depressed economy out here, probably more so on my side of the fence being in New Zealand than in Aussie. You guys are a bit more robust than we are. Things are pretty flat here.
Yeah.
But not in the MSP sector. So growth, even in the New Zealand sector, is still CAGR, compound annual revenue growth is about 12%. Whereas the world's sort of 3%, and it's a great time to be in an MSP land. I still think I'm still jealous I'm not in it.
I've actually said that we could nearly go back, Greg. You and I started up again, mate.
I'm going to. I have a restraint of trade, so I've actually spoken yesterday with the people that hold my restraint of trade, and we might be doing something in the future, but obviously can't put that out too much. But yeah, no, I'm keen to go back in. I've got a son working in the industry too, so I'm keen to do something with him and his energy, and I wouldn't say flaunt or take advantage of, but he's got a youth and exuberance that needs to sort of be funneled in a particular way and get back into the industry. It's a great place to be. Really good place.
You talk to a lot of MSPs. I talk to a lot of MSPs, and what we're starting to see is that the end users starting to understand that they are at risk with security, and cybersecurity is one of the biggest landscapes out there that is impacting all our end users. So, mate, as an MSP right now, if you don't have a security offering of some sort, that's probably where you're lacking. I see.
Oh yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine a horizon of any MSP that doesn't have some sort of security offering, and it might just be that they're providing security-based products and wrapping it up under their main offering and their main bundle. But nonetheless, it should be a part of their price book. Security services. I mean, we even way back in the early days, and this doesn't seem like that long ago to me. Yes, it is. But back in the early days of OpenDNS, you're providing some DNS filtering, and so what is it now? Zero trust frameworks, and there's so many different ways that you can go about skinning the cat that you are guilty by implication anyway.
Yep, absolutely. And you need
why not prevent the issue and get paid for it?
Yeah,
you're on the hook. You're the IT guy and girl. You're the guy. So you're there anyway. So, but ultimately, what you're trying to do, Shaun, and a lot of your tools are about this, is providing a framework for operational efficiency, right? So you've got a fixed revenue. You can change that pricing from time to time, but it's a monthly basis revenue. You want to have amazing service and provide it for the least amount of money.
Correct.
That's business 101, MSP business 101, and getting rid of security incidents or heading them off at the pass drives the cost of service delivery down. Make more money.
Efficiency gains is where you want to be in the MSP space. If you can find applications or software that work with you from a automation point of view, that's the game, isn't it? If you can close more tickets, less time to action, quicker time to action, less human interaction, less human stuff ups, then that's where I see a lot of MSPs really driving effective hourly rates, the average seat price being a lot more, less staff, more partners will win the game.
Cost of goods, right? So there's I'm in the middle of a pitch competition with ConnectWise, and regardless of this conversation, you sort of interacting with other vendors and people there, and so part of one of those sessions this morning was around, and I imagine this is something that is absolutely discussed in your true peer framework, your true peer groups, is being market leading and understanding your cost of goods sold and understanding the cost of your engineering capability that's going to serve each ticket and driving those things down. while maintaining a happy client with great service. Right?
That's right.
Those things don't have to be at opposite ends. You can maintain service.
Yep.
And get smart about how you drive the cost of solving each ticket down.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about at Kaseya, is that we can drop your software costs down by 33%.
Yeah,
so if we can do that.
Kaseya 365 announcement is just really stuck a dagger into the market and gone, hey, we're going to just consolidate these things and drive the cost of them down. I actually heard that announcement. I was like, fuck, oh, excuse my French, but that would have been bloody good to have a while ago when I was providing the services through my MSP, because that would have, on a per user basis, that would have taken $15 a user, I calculated, out of every month. We had 5,000 users. Yeah. Some pretty good math.
So straight away, you're making some more coin, but you're also delivering a better security solution, because you've got options with the Kaseya 365 model that you probably didn't have prior to us releasing this new Pro and Essentials framework. So, third-party patching. We used to use third-party add-ons into our RMMs to do the third-party patching. So now we can deliver that. Backup solutions that you don't
just use my calculator. Use my calculator. That would have been another $1 million a year.
Yeah, right off the bottom line. Bang.
Thanks, Fred. You brought it to market a little bit late for me. But the good news is I'll be going back in. So I get to
reap the rewards.
Make use of all of those things again.
Yeah.
Which would be exciting. There's a real opportunity in market.
And the fact that these products are all together, and the efficiency gains that we can grab by automating it all together under the Kaseya banner. Yeah, you're not using API engines anymore. It's all the database level stuff. So it's all integrated on top of each other. And that's when you start seeing, like we said, the efficiency gains. So you've got software costs winning, super duper. You're saving $15 minimum per endpoint. And then you've also got the efficiency gains of closing more tickets and a happier partner. Then they're going to stick around more, and you can be that. Because what I'm starting to see, and you might be a little bit different on your world, but what I'm seeing with MSPs now, it's done a whole 360 again. We're becoming those consultants. It's not the software side of it to close tickets and just be that level 1, level 2 support. That's a given now. Tell me how I can be more secure.
That's still a requirement, but it is implied that you guys will have that stuff sorted out, right? And so that's almost the plumbing that has to happen, and it has to operate well for you to be able to do all of these other things for us, right? So if you stuff up rule number 1, you don't get rule number 2.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so it still needs to be there, and you still got to do it well. But yes, 100% we're seeing that as well.
Yeah.
And even in our platform, Shaun, we're seeing more consultative templates being added. So we're actually seeing it at a fundamental level where people are selling more consulting services, more VCIO type style services, where you're looking into the future. You're not reacting to shit that's gone bad in the past. You're looking forward.
And is that aligned to more, are you seeing it more aligned to some sort of security structure, like an ISO 27001 or Essential 8, NIST? Like, we're seeing a lot of partners go to market with that and say, hey,
if we did more snooping in the platform, I could be able to answer that, but we don't, because people will grab the template from the marketplace and add it into their tenant. So that's what, at that level, that's what we're seeing, is they're adding to their tenant more VCIO brochure services, that type of thing. So once how they customize and itemize that after that, we tend not to poke around. But it's just interesting that correlates.
Yeah, the go-to-market strategies we're seeing are still there under the security banner, the compliance banners, and then the VCIO frameworks. That's that consultative service model back again. Not that it ever really left, but it's just now more of a forward-thinking,
more prevalent. And I would go so far as to say that certain really buggy items that we all used to support are no longer in the mix, such as hosted Exchange servers or on-site servers so those types of things that used to go down 3 in the morning. So that white noise has gone away. The stability of networks, the stability of the equipment, the stability of speed to be able to solve problems and that type of thing has allowed, and those that have been in business for a while, have figured out their processes and their procedures and how they do, and they're starting to look at driving down their cost of goods sold. And so what are they doing with that extra capacity? They're going and selling projects. And I think that's where it started to sort of flip on its head.
And another thing we're seeing, and this might be me getting old, Greg, grey hairs, losing hair, all that fun stuff.
Is that why you're wearing a hat?
That's why we're wearing a hat these days. Is that we're seeing the end users, the generation that are coming through, have grown up with computers. So this level 1, level 2 support stuff that we traditionally had 10 years, 20 years ago is no longer there, because it's now, I know how to do that. I know how to fix a printer. I know how to do the level mundane stuff that we traditionally would help with is now has moved off, and we're seeing end users more tend towards of a level 2 sort of solution helping framework than that basic stuff, which is good and bad. Good for the end user because now they've got people internally, but you don't want them to be able to just take over the IT support because it's not their real role, is that they're not hired for that. But at the same time, they're just in their nature that they know how to do it.
Yeah, I'll give you a real world example of that and then finish it off with why I think it's a good thing. Is when we had an MSP, we banned dealing with real estate agents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no real estate agents. Why? Problematic. Old boomers don't know how to use computers, continually stuff them up, and you get a repeat problem again and again. And because they're independent contractor, they don't want to pay you. That's an aside, right? Getting paid is always a big requirement. So we got out of the real estate industry. But you know what now? As I go back in, I'm 100% going back in there because no one looks after them well. And all of those old dudes have retired.
All the that's exactly right.
All know how to use computers and actually know that they need them. Whereas the computer, like, and my dad's still selling real estate at 75 or 78, God bless him, and he loves it. He does it in a beachside resort. He hardly uses the computer. Like, he uses the online databases and stuff, but the computer's not a big part of his world, right? Yeah. Whereas the modern day real estate agent's got, a laptop under one hand,
everything,
mobile phone in the other, and they're real world tools. They want to make sure that they're operating all the time.
Yeah, virtual reality of the home and step through here, step through there. That's what's growing.
Yeah, so I mean that's but yeah, you're right. So the fact that they grew up with the computers, they know it. There's still quite a lot of things that they would not be able to fix, right? Because they're spending time selling houses and reading contracts and doing, legislative investigation for properties, whatever, all of that sort of stuff that, they might use a computer to do it, but they wouldn't necessarily know how to solve the problem, and let alone understand all the complexity of making sure that there's a secure environment. So being on the security side of things is incredibly important.
That's the way you want to take it when you go to pitch your solution, is that, look, they can do it, but they don't know the end goal of what they're changing, what it impacts in regards to security. You touch on real estate. I've got a better one. We looked after a nunnery. Try 89-year-old female nuns who...
No need for porn filters, then.
Needed support. Stop it. So we certainly were a lost leader in that one. 2 hours on a phone call just to restart a modem, which then turns out that they're restarting the kettle. Is good stories we've had.
Some of those power stories. I mean, I think the modern day kid just wouldn't get it because everyone's sort of too smart. But I mean, when I started my career, not to go down memory lane, but my first job was as an IT trainer, teaching predominantly females how to use Microsoft Word.
Yep.
I used to have to pick the mouse. The mouse had a cord back then, but I used to have to pick the mouse off the floor at least twice a lesson because ladies are trying to use it as a foot pedal, like a sewing machine. At least twice a lesson. I was doing about 4 lessons a day. I was getting a sore back from leaning over all the time. That's funny. Luckily, that job I did only lasted a couple of months because I got poached to go and be an IT manager. But it was funny.
But isn't it? We could write a book. Hey, we could do a podcast on all the things that were 20 years ago people wouldn't realize were actual issues that we supported.
Oh yeah, you get that when you're swiping on TikTok and stuff. If you know what these things are, then you must be of a certain age, right?
Yeah.
I actually have a book coming out. Believe it or not.
There we go.
Yeah, next month. Are you going to be at ARN Edge?
I will. We are sponsoring ARN Edge. I unfortunately won't be there. We've actually got our True Peer meetings happening the same time in Sydney. So it'll be a couple of our crew there representing.
I'm one of the speakers at that,
Really?
but using that as an opportunity to sort of bring the book out. But
What's the book
pretty
about?
much, it's called well, the tagline for it at the moment. It's still kind of waiting for a title, but it's called No BS MSP Success. Right, so it's just a no bullshit hand guide as to how we built our MSP and not the stuff that everyone kind of knows, like manage your costs, look after your people. It's kind of the little bits.
Yeah.
That we think were a bit magic and really helped us sort of differentiate, because Base 2 was a great story and a really good exit, and we had a lot of fun doing it along the way. And a lot of the book sort of dives into how we included the team in that journey, like set the targets but made them group targets, and then took the whole company to Fiji, but it's just the way the involvement got down to the deep level is like, okay, well, we need to have a bit of a yarn about this, because if the whole company's on a flight to Fiji and their company, that flight goes bad, or in actual fact, we won't be contactable up there for 3 hours. So, we're going to have to think about this. So we ended up having 2 advanced groups that went up there and set up the network. And then we came home later and kind of thought about it. And part of that was the fun of actually planning it all. It was good. But the leading up to that was around net MRR stretch targets and having some fun with those things. But that's just one of them.
I think you touched on a few things there. Like, I talk to a lot of MSPs. We do these things called IT complete, because a lot of people don't really know what Kaseya do. So we go through what they do. But one of my big things when I'm on these calls is to find out what the MSP does. Like, okay, how do you go to market? Number one, how do you reward your staff? Are you having fun? Because a lot of MSPs out there now, I've got to make money. I've got to see an exit strategy. I've got to make sure I'm doing mergers and acquisitions. I've got to structure my MSP so it's under contracts. The end goal for me, in any job I'm in, are we having fun, and are we enjoying what we're doing? Because we're here for one life, so why not make it fun? And it's an interesting little talk track when you talk to some MSPs and they're like, oh, I don't really like the industry, and it's like, well, why are you in it? The end goal is to make sure that your end users are more protected and are happy. If you're not enjoying it, let's find just do something or get your business up for sale, and then you can go and do something.
Yeah, do a 6-month grooming exercise and get the things done that you need to, and then get out. But there could be a lot of fun in this. You've got to make sure that you're not. I tell you what's not fun, and we've all done it for an extended period of time. And yes, we are showing our grey hairs, so we know that this is like a bit of a boring story, but it's short. If you're constantly drinking from the fire hose, and that's a shit arrangement in any industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So there is a period of time where you will have to do that. Like you're just getting, issues coming from your left and from the right, and then unforeseen, your finance person resigns, and then your head of help desk, whatever, kids gets cancer, and it can be overwhelming. But that's any business.
Yeah.
Any service-based business, you can get that. So having a plan is okay, I know that I can handle this for another 3 or 4 months, right? But then it's going to be 10% less, and then it's going to be 10% less, and then it's going to be 10% less, and then after a year, whatever, it's a lot less.
Yeah.
And it's only 1 hour of issues a day.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine, and I can probably try and eliminate that too. But if you think that you're going to constantly drink from the fire hose all day, every day for the next 12 years, I'd get out too.
Yeah, and it's not fun doing that.
No, but if you for 5 minutes a day, if you sat down and thought, okay, I did 19 things today, one of those I can automate, or one of those I can fix.
Yeah. And
you're incrementally better tomorrow than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
You're just on a path, and it gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better, and then sometimes you don't even notice it, Shaun? And eventually you go, oh shit,
what have I done?
This is great. I'm not hearing all this noise. And sometimes people get worried about making themselves so redundant that they don't have anything to do. Trust me, there's always
stuff to do. Look, the last end of my career in the MSP landscape was all making sure we had the business structure right, especially what you're talking about, having 5 minutes of your day just to work out, okay, if I fix that in the next 90 days, so we call them rocks, in the next 90 days that's fixed, I know that that's ticked off the list, right? So my 1 year goal is now it's getting better. If my 3 year goal or my 10 year goal is now being my aim, then as long as you're working on that business and not just chasing your tail the whole time, that's exactly what you're talking about. That's what we help with peer groups, any peer groups,
Yeah,
whether they're ours.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of framework. But
Yeah.
seeing as you're here, we may as well talk about true peer. And so I actually heard you say rocks, like, is because I know when you were at PowerNet, you had Danny. Were you guys like, did you adopt the EOS framework way back then?
Yeah, so we started with Gallup, which was the EOS
Yeah.
framework, and then Gallup turned into EOS. So we were running EOS for 5 years, and it changed PowerNet to be more reliable, more resilient as well, because we knew who owned which areas. Yeah, we did meetings every week. We call it the level 10s. That's what the EOS framework is, but it's the same structure for every department. So we had teams, all 100 staff. So we had teams in the sales team that would run a level 10, sales, service, accounting, or office admin. They would all run the exact same meeting, the exact same structure. So if any of us needed to come into that meeting, you knew exactly where it was at.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm a huge advocate for the EOS framework and peer groups, and that's why I'm moving into that area at Kaseya, because I think that's.
Do you think there's elements of your learnings, without stepping on EOS framework or whatever toes, is there element of your learnings that will be infused into the true peer if it's not there already?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very similar, the True Methods framework into the EOS business model as well. There's bits we've taken from a lot of different frameworks and brought them into the True Methods and True Peer framework. But yeah, a lot of MSPs don't know. You touched on it right at the start. Their cost of goods sold, how much they're actually spending on service engineers, how much they're actually spending on their kit. Is their recurring revenue covering 100% of their outgoings, and then the projects are cream on top? No one knows. A lot of the MSPs just don't look at that. They might just look at the number at the end of the month. They go, beauty, we've made some money. Our contracts are sort of working. So if we can help you with a structure to at least get you eyes on your accountability structure and then also your accounting structure, well, that's a win.
What I don't know is, how do you price? If you can't build from the bottom up, I mean, you can take a stab at pricing, but what I'm saying, you can. We're actually releasing in the next week. We've built a calculator that takes across, what's the cost of your level 1, your level 2, level 3, and your senior staff or whatever, and it gives you a blended rate.
Yep.
And then what's your average ticket time to resolution?
Yep.
48 minutes. No. Actually, we'll put down 3/4 of an hour, right? And so there, roughly what it's going to cost on an engineering front with a blended rate to service that client.
Yeah, perfect.
Each user logs 1 ticket per month as on average. And so this calculator allows you to build up. Okay, and there's your cost of your software, which is now smaller because of Kaseya 365, and then are you going to include licensing for Office 365 or M365 or not? Yes. Okay. Well, then you're going to be, if you want to maintain $85 of margin per user per month or whatever, you've got to price at $165.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 75, or 85, or 95, whatever, and then you add on other things from there. Like, so this calculator actually allows people to put a bundle together, because if you're just going, I'll meet the market and do it at $85 an hour, well, you've got costs of goods and you're going to make $20 per user. It's just not sustainable, right? So
it's a stab in the dark that no one really knew why I was charging it at $85.
Exactly. You don't want to price by what the rest of the market's doing.
Correct.
You want to price, how do you say this? You want to price it with the desired outcome in mind. I want to make $100 per user per month. I want to. I might not, but I want to.
Yep.
And what will soon tell you is whether the market's going to accept it or not is when you go and try and sell it.
Yeah.
If they're going, whoa, that's way too much, then and you get that from 10 people out of speaking to 50.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But you might not.
But we've seen those sort of models range from your 85, what you're talking about. We've got partners out there that spent their $350 unlimited support, security.
But everything's in there.
Yeah, everything's
that's right. Yeah, and so we had plans at 250, I think, by the time I left, and that had everything. But every plan had $100 of margin built in per user, because that's what that's what I wanted to be able to achieve, to know that you had enough money to invest back into really top people, to retaining top people, to making sure the customer outcome was really good. It wasn't all going in our pocket, as much as you'd like to think so. enough margin to feed and water other parts of the business and constantly reinvest and get better and better and better and better. You know, like I said before, better tomorrow than we are today.
Yeah.
In all aspects, you know, you as a person down to the engineering kit that you've got, the TV got bigger periodically every month in the main office, you know, all that shit. It's got to get bigger and better.
Yeah, absolutely. The better biscuits on a Friday afternoon, better pizzas. Better.
Yeah. No, we stopped short of the disco biscuits, but just normal biscuits.
Look, and I'm seeing a lot of MSPs out there who don't know the effective hourly rate stat. And this is stuff that you and I take for granted. We spoke about it last week, actually, that I take for granted that we slowly got to this spot where we knew our effective hourly rate, we knew how much we were making, our EBITDA, we could tell you every month what it was at. But a lot of people out there don't know that. And that's where I'm hoping the True Peer and our peer groups, we can help them with that, because we've got that whole structure. We've got that calculator that you're talking about. That's already part of when you join peer groups. We go through all that stuff with you. Right. We give you agreements that you can take to market. We give contracts that you can use.
That you can use inside of our platform.
Yeah, Zen contract, bring it across, boom, away we are. So it is all there under the peer groups, and excited to bring my little flair to it, and make it fun and enjoyable, as well as building on your business, building it on, not in it.
And so let's dive into that, but unpick it for those that are listening, thinking, I'm a $1 million business. I want to go to 3. I want to go to 5. I want to go to 7. I want to make sure that I do it in a way where I don't die. That's always rule number 1. Rule number 1 is don't die. Rule number 2, referred in rule number 1. But do it in a way where I'm not having to, chew a whole lot of money. I want to grow profitably, and I want to really understand what makes this thing tick. That's ultimately what you get with a great peer group, and also you get the peers. That should never be underestimated, right? It's not like going to university and you're standing listening to one person up the front. Like, you learn from multiple directions. You're sitting pretty much in round tables, and you've got other people that are talking about. They might raise a topic of, I've got a grievance with another staff member. How do you handle that? What's the process do you follow? And Bob will pipe up and go, hey, I went through this 2 months ago, and it was, and we made this mistake. Don't do that, but this is how you do it. Boom, 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 boom. And you get that flow, right? And you guys facilitate those, but also you've got the luxury of all of that best of breed how-to guides as well, right? To get all those things started. Because if you've got 8 people in a room that don't know about a topic, no one's teaching each other.
No one's teaching anyone.
Someone's going to facilitate there.
Yeah, and look, that's Gary Picker's True Methods model. We were lucky enough with Kaseya that acquisition happened about 3 years ago, and he's amazing. His knowledge, when you get to sit down with Gary Picker, it's an amazing world what he can do just by asking what your revenue is and how many staff you've got. And he can structure that in his head as to how it should be structured in your company. And the 2 main things that MSPs really suck at: sales. We hate sales, we're not really good at it, and marketing, right? 2 areas. And I know that we at PowerNet didn't have a marketing manager till probably 80 staff, I reckon. Sales was all referral or word of mouth. Nothing really come from anything else. So we do concentrate a bit on that too, to make sure that the crew can go out and sell managed service agreements under our model. And it's just the peer groups. I'm with you. Like, if I've got a software that I'm trying to implement, I don't want to talk to the vendor about that. I want to talk to someone who's actually used it and understands it inside and out and deployed it, and that's
and stuffed it up.
And learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they can tell you which path not to go down, and how how to pull it apart and how to get it back together. And often the recovery is the path that you want to do when you're just doing a bare bones install anyway, because it's just they've learned all the mistakes. 100%. And sometimes that's where I'm now in vendor land. I'm not in MSP land, as we said, and that's where you want to facilitate customers talking to prospects. Right. Yes. So, and let's assume you've got a product that's not a Me Too product, but you've got a product that is helping their business. It's driving efficiency. It's driving accuracy. It's reducing risk. It's allowing you to get through audits better because all your contracts are in the right place. I'm talking about ours, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got that, the fastest way to sell it then is to talk to someone that's put it in, because
Yeah.
it is achieving those things. Our limitation is telling the story to enough people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you've got some friendlies out there talking about you in amongst a peer group or a barbecue or whatever, then that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and look, you want to keep those raving fans happy, and so then sometimes it does mean that there might be a stuff up in the system. None of our products are amazing, and they all work straight out of the bat. You got to nurture and fix and whatnot. But if you can support that, and the raving fan then says, that Zen Contract have a great support engine behind them, and they're really really helping us out get this all resolved. That as an MSP is enough for me to go. That's what we want to do, and that's
we've got an example where there's an Irish firm is using our pricing. They just want some logic to say, when this product is chosen, then add this amount of professional service. So we're calling it pricing logic, and we're doing that for them because we know that it will be useful for other MSPs, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, fixing up, a bug for them or whatever. But you're building a relationship for them, and they're massive advocates now because it's we've listened to their requirement and building it for them. We can't do that with everyone, so you've got to figure out which ones are those raving fans and really look after those.
Yeah, but you touched on it. You're fixing the bug as well, so that'll fix the bug for everyone else. You get a product out of it that then you can go to market with as well. Tick.
Yeah.
And
that's where most of our product evolution is coming from now. Initially, it was to build the core engine, and then it was the MSA manager, and then there's a couple other modules in there around policy management and stuff. But now it's we've got hundreds of MSPs using it and feedback going, this would help us a lot if it could do. Trying not to get it to go down and to open up into a whole different weed. That's where you've got to apply some logic, and we actually take 5 things that come through a month and we put them back out to the wider customer base going, would this help you as well?
Yeah.
And that's how we get the data on, what we actually develop. So yeah, and it's much more applicable now that there's hundreds as opposed to when there was 5. It's better and better. So,
but a lot of the products that work out in our industry, the MSP industry, the vendor land, are built by ex-MSPs. Right?
Yeah, I know.
You know what the pain points are. You know what the pain point was to create the product Zen Contract. So that's why it works. It's when these other products come into town and they're like, you need this, but it's not really truly built for MSPs, and it's not from that structure. That's when it really hurts and takes a lot longer.
And sometimes, you were probably like this at PowerNet. We were at Base 2, and is that you knew you needed that product, but it wasn't built for MSP. Certainly in the early days of security, and it didn't integrate with your Autotask or your ConnectWise Manage. And I remember Sophos was one, and eventually we sold enough Sophos that the MSP industry, not just our company, but the MSP industry sold enough Sophos that they go, okay, we better integrate with all of this stuff, and you're like, let's go for that.
Yeah, it was the ladder instead of the early adopters saying, "Oh, we need to be an MSP focus." Which
Cisco Meraki was another one. Like they in the early days, we had all of their kit everywhere. It was amazing, but just didn't integrate. And so now you're good. And that's where let's talk about that for a bit. That's always an interesting exercise, and pontificating about getting back into the industry and whether you do one day or not. You've got a great career path with Kaseya. But it would be easier to start one now than it was when we were younger. I mean, barriers to entry are low. I mean, I spend $1 million on putting a whole bunch of kit into a data center. So you don't have to do that anymore.
Hosted exchange, selling that. I did hosted VMs.
A little Irish dance for the last hosted exchange server that we turned off. I did a little jig.
Yeah, I remember all those days. And would it be easier? I think it's easier because we know what we know. Yeah, I talk to a lot of people now who are starting out, young kids coming out of it, getting it done, but they're still making similar mistakes as what we made. And it's like, but now you've got Office 365 or M365, you can structure your whole solution across a one vendor stack like Kaseya 365, but they're still going to market and trying to grab all these different solutions and try and integrate it all together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could liken it to someone that's trying to build the first pair of Nike shoes, whereas now they've just 3D printed. I guess you just move it with the times. Of course, it's easier. And yes, we've got the knowledge and the mistakes, so we know what not to do.
Yeah.
I won't be. I'll be buying one though. I don't think I'll be.
Oh, really?
Scratch. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So is this a cheap marketing engine to see? Is there any MSPs out there that Greg Sharp can buy?
Mate, New Zealand's a small place. Everyone knows everyone. I'm about to go to lunch with most of them in about 25 minutes. So
there we go. A lunch meeting.
Easy. Yeah.
My first merger was with someone at a lunch meeting, so be careful.
Is that right? Did she turn into your wife?
No, definitely not. No. Don't work and business don't go. Sorry, was it play and business don't go together?
Very good. Hey, well, we'll just call this to a close, but we've got 45 minutes on the clock. I really enjoyed talking to you. And when are we going to see each other next? Is it hopefully it's going to be before DattoCon Asia Pacific?
Look, we are in what we call the time of events, isn't it? The next 3 months are all events everywhere. We've got a lot of events that we're sponsoring, so hopefully we see each other there. We've got our locals coming up. We've got Brisbane and Adelaide coming up.
Are you over to Auckland at some stage?
Well, Auckland we did at the start of the year, so we're trying to get back there over Christmas and do a little bit of party with our crew over there as well. So there's a fair bit coming on the Kaseya side. We've got our True Peer meetups happening the 31st of July and 1st of August too. So we'll see each other, Sharpie. Don't worry, it'll happen.
Yeah, good. As I said, I'm going to Aaron Edge and speaking on the main stage there. So, but I would, I'll get in contact with you because I'd be keen to see where we're at with the True Peer stuff, and I really want to get involved. I know that our framework has a good alignment with peer groups. When you're actually taking the time to advance your operational maturity, our product sits really well with that. Getting all your contracts in order and getting them signed and seamless and a good workflow and stuff. So, we will no doubt be speaking before too long.
And 40 partners in Australia now on the peer groups, which is huge. We started with 6 at the start of the year, so we're certainly driving more of that.
Are they in groups of 10 or 8 or 6, or how's it work?
The groups of 8 is where we want it to be, and the way we've siloed everyone out and made them proper what we call pods is that it's all about where you are in a region, how big your revenue is, and how many staff you've got, and then hopefully we can then, if you grow, we can move you into a different pod and move you around that way. So we're starting off with 4 to 5 different pods.
Okay.
Just to make
one of the MSPs that I sit on the board of is in your peer group. He's just starting out, so he's really enjoying it. Good.
Yeah, good times. Well, thanks for the time, Greggy.
Thanks very much, mate. Nice to see you.
You too, buddy.
See you later.